TFSAs are often misunderstood. Can you please break down how exactly they work and why would they be valuable to investors?
I think the biggest misconception is people consider it like a savings account. And what do people do with their savings? Every once in a while, they have to access their savings. So what happens with the TFSA is if you withdraw from your TFSA, you're effectively reducing your lifetime limit. Although people talk about tax-free savings, for all intents and purposes, it actually should be a tax-free investment account.
So I think a lot of companies missell the product because they offer like money market funds, which to me is a waste of time.
If there was one thing that you could let people know about a tax-free savings account, what would you let them know?
As a dad of a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, it's...
Welcome back to another Frankly Speaking episode. I am Unati and I'm new here at Franc. With me today, I have CEO and co-founder Tom and COO and co-founder Seb. Today, we'll be breaking down tax-free savings accounts, how they work, how to maximize the tax-free investing, and common mistakes to avoid. With that being said, we're excited to announce that we've recently launched the Franc tax-free saving investments. Tom, can you briefly share why Franc has decided to launch this product and how it links to the investment journey?
So at a simple level, it's a fantastic product that I believe everyone should have. Everyone should take advantage of the tax benefits that come along with a tax-free savings account, because in truth, you're saving on any interest that you earn, any dividends that accrue to you, and any capital gains that you generate through that investment. So at one level, I think everyone should have it, and the benefits that tax-free savings accounts provide, we want to be able to provide to the Franc users.
Seb, can you please share why Franc has used a specific account and how it benefits our users?
Cool. So yeah, we've decided to go with the Satrix Global Balanced Fund of Fund ETF, which is quite a mouthful. But if you break it down into its components, so ETF, as we've said before in the Frankly Speaking episodes, an exchange traded fund, which just means it's a fund listed on the JSE and traded. Satrix is the investment manager, so that's who kind of handles the investing side of things. But importantly, so global balanced fund of funds. I mean, global just means that there's assets from all over the world that are contained in the fund. So it's a very diversified product. I think there's 8 different components. Balance, again, means that there's different asset classes in the fund. So combination of developed markets equity, emerging markets equity, property, infrastructure, cash, credit, normal bonds, inflation-linked bonds. Yeah, so there's 8 different categories. And a fund of fund means that like the Satrix 40 ETF, for example, it comprises of 40 different stocks listed on the JSE. Here, there's 8 different indices that we're actually tracking. So that's what it means by being a fund of funds. It's a fund that contains 8 different other funds in it. So you've got the diversification in terms of asset class, in terms of geography, in terms of funds. So one of the key things that went into our thinking.
And why does that benefit users?
So the exposure to different asset classes and diversification, I mean, that kind of like smooths out the return. So one of the key things that went into our thinking by offering this as opposed to a pure equity product is because, as we know, equity can be very volatile, can go up and down in the short term, but generally over a longer term, the returns are good. But we wanted our investors to benefit from good returns over time, but also to have a bit of a smoother ride. So with all this diversification, we don't think it's going to be jumping around as much. It should be a lot smoother. And we've got some information in terms of so this is a very new product. It only launched in December. So there isn't really historical data to look at the product. But if you kind of look at the back-tested results, so if this product did exist over the past 5 years, I think the annualized return in rands is about 12%. So we think, it's a bit lower than like the S&P 500, but like we said, the journey would be a lot smoother. And the reason why we want the journey to be smoother is because we don't really want people to be going in and out of a tax-free savings account. There's a lot of restrictions and stuff, which I'm sure we'll get to later. But we want people to be in it for the long haul.
Tom, TFSAs are often misunderstood. Can you please break down how exactly they work and why would they be valuable to investors?
Sure. I think the biggest misconception is people consider it like a savings account. And what do people do with their savings? Every once in a while, they have to access their savings. That, for a TFSA, is not ideal. Reason being, you have limits that are imposed by the government. So there's an annual limit of 36,000 Rand of what you can contribute into a TFSA and a lifetime limit of 500,000. So what happens with the TFSA is if you withdraw from your TFSA, you're effectively reducing your lifetime limit for all intents and purposes. Mm-hmm. It means you're kind of undermining the future growth, the tax-free future growth potential that money could have because you're taking it out for an emergency. So really, the tax-free savings should just be seen as a long-term vehicle, literally alongside your retirement savings, thinking on 20, 30, 40 years, depending on when you open the account. That way, you can really maximize the tax-free benefits that come along with the fund. So although people talk about tax-free savings, for all intents and purposes, it actually should be a tax-free investment account. If the association is investing is for the long term, you're wanting to kind of, take on a bit of risk that allows you to kind of maximize the growth potential coming out of that money that you put away.
You have touched on a bit about the limits. Can you please maybe explain more about what happens when you exceed these limits?
So unfortunately, SARS is quite punitive in this regard. So if you exceed on an annual basis the 36,000 Rand, they actually will tax 40% of that extra contribution, which is quite high in terms of a tax rate. Not everyone is paying 40%, only typically the high income earners. So it is quite punitive. So it's important for people who want to contribute to this to have an awareness of how much they've put in already.
So what you've shared, Tom, can you please let us know how does Franc then overcome these TFSA challenges?
So the simple thing is just helping people be aware of what they put in. So on the Franc dashboard, you'll be able to see what your contributions have already been. So making it very clear, hopefully, that what you need to do in order to maximize the benefit, but definitely how to avoid being penalized.
Seb, no tax return sounds like a win. Can you please share why people aren't necessarily making most of TFSAs?
I think, as Tom said, it's called tax-free savings, but, it really should be a tax-free investment, like a longer term thing. So I think a lot of companies missell the product because they offer like money market funds, which to me is a waste of time for this specific product, because like if you just look at you can earn like 23,000 Rand worth of interest every year without paying tax, and that means you probably have like 300,000 Rand in an interest-bearing account that very few people have, right? So you rather make use of that kind of allowance first. And there's a similar thing with capital gains. You can have like a 40,000 Rand capital gain in a year and not have to pay tax. So I think it's not a simple product. So I think that's kind of what gets people because there are the limits. People might be scared of going over the limits. Again, people are maybe they realize that it's a waste of time if it's only going to be done for the short term. Because you only really get the benefit after many years of compounding growth and not paying tax over your contributions. So I think it's the fact that government tried to do a good thing in terms of providing an incentive for people to start investing more, but because of all the kind of T's and C's, maybe people are a bit skeptical. It's a relatively new product, hasn't been around for decades. So I think, those are kind of probably what might put people off.
Okay. And with that being said, have you thought of maybe what people then tend to overlook when it comes to TFSAs?
Yeah, I think that it's just like with anything investment related, people generally have a shorter term time frame. So they're thinking like 1-2 years into the future, whereas with this, you need to have, like a 10, 20, 30 year time horizon, and often just the psychology of people, they can't think that far ahead. They think that things will work out, or that's so far away, but then next thing you wake up, it's 20 years, it's gone, and you could have made a lot of money or not paid a lot of tax by capitalizing on this product.
I agree. I think unfortunately we tend to be very myopic, but hopefully with this product will tend to now actually look more into the future. So Tom, some people think that a TFSA can be used as just a normal savings account. What do you think people are missing when it comes to TFSAs?
I think fundamentally it's knowing that by taking money out of your TFSA, you're literally shooting yourself in the foot. You're kind of taking away a future opportunity of not only the tax benefit, but the growth that money could have had kind of in your personal name. So it's frustrating because the association of savings account is so strong and people think of their savings as something that they can access. But it's also a reality to know that a lot of people need to access savings. So, for those that want to set up a TFSA with Franc, I would encourage all of those users to set up an emergency fund, which is not wrapped as a tax-free benefit. It's just an emergency fund. You can access it whenever you want without being penalized, and rather try and leave this money for the long term. So your TFSA, as Seb said, is like a 10, 20, 30-year time horizon, ideally like not to be touched for a long time. And then your emergency savings is for exactly that. Or your savings account, money that you can access when you need it.
Okay, I have to agree with that. I think also from personal experience, using your TFSA as an emergency fund is not the way to go. And I think this question actually ties in well to the next question, which is about withdrawals. So we know that with TFSA's withdrawals can be quite tricky. Can you please explain a bit more about that?
Yeah, so to disincentivize customers from making withdrawals, we've implemented quite a high fee for withdrawals. So there's a 100 Rand withdrawal fee unless you're withdrawing more than 10,000 Rand. So effectively, we're trying to get people not to make small withdrawals out of their tax-free savings account because it's not worth their while. And similarly, like for an emergency fund product, we have the quick withdrawal mechanism. So if you need a few thousand Rand pretty quickly to pay for that burst geyser or whatever, you can get it into your bank account pretty quickly. But here, again, we're not going to be offering a quick withdrawal for the tax-free savings account just because, we don't want people to think of it as a place to just make withdrawals from.
Unathi, I want to hear your story, man. So what happened? You said you had a tax-free savings account, you put money in, you took money out.
So that was actually the only form of investing, rather the only form of savings that I had at the time. And it was more of whenever I needed money, I would use it, but it was actually only allowed to be withdrawn after 7 days. And I actually was treating it more of just quick withdrawal. So I was constantly used to actually paying the quick withdrawal fee. And this was actually with my bank as well. So once you pay the quick withdrawal fee, you then actually have to close your account. So once I close the account, I take the money that I need. I would then go back and reopen the account again.
It's okay. Just read it out. I'm sure it's happened to a lot of people.
There's a blog article in there somewhere.
Okay, yes, I should read that. I think with Franc's tax-free savings account, I'll definitely treat it less like an emergency fund and more for investing. So thank you. These are our final questions. And for Seb, this is for you. Yeah, for someone who wants to consider tax-free savings accounts, can you please share more of what would they get out of it?
I mean, the main thing is just long-term growth, right? I mean, just hop on about that. I mean, they need to be in it for the long term. They need to constantly contribute, and then over time you kind of see the benefits. If you do the maths, probably after 5 years, the difference between a tax-free investment and a normal investment, the difference is pretty minimal. But then it starts widening, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years. So you need to be in it for the long haul and just keep contributing.
What is the difference between a retirement annuity and a tax-free savings account?
So I think there are a couple of differences to discuss. The first is obviously what are the tax differences, right? How are they treated differently? So as mentioned, a tax-free savings account, you have those annual limits, but that contribution isn't actually tax deductible. This is money that you're putting after tax effectively. But there is a tax benefit on any interest that's earned, any dividends that are paid out, any capital gains that come as a result of that investment. So in that sense, the growth of your money, your savings over time is kind of tax-free, which is great. A retirement annuity or other sort of, retirement fund contribution, the contributions themselves are tax deductible. So this means money that you put in, actually you can take off your taxable income and actually pay less tax on an annual basis. In addition to having some sort of long-term growth tax benefits, the problem is with the retirement annuity, there are also strings. So like with a tax-free savings, whenever you want to withdraw, and as we've discussed, the longer you wait, the bigger the benefit that you'll enjoy, but you can take your money out. With the retirement annuity or other retirement funds, when you retire, you can only take out a third in cash, and the remaining 2/3 needs to actually go to buying some form of living annuity, which means that you're going to be drawing an income from that investment on a monthly basis. So yeah, I suppose the strings attached and the tax kind of treatment are the two fundamental differences between tax-free savings and a retirement annuity.
Thank you. And to wrap us off, what would be some of the common mistakes then that people would make when it comes to TFSAs?
Yeah, I mean, if you have the means to try and max it out, and not everyone has the means to max it out, and it might not make sense for everyone to max it out, but to try and put as much as possible. Put it into a product where there's good growth potential, like equity exposure, and not like an interest-bearing account. And then, just don't touch it. So don't make withdrawals. I mean, those are the three key things.
If there was one thing that you could let people know about a tax-free savings account, what would you let them know?
As a dad of a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old, it's open it for your kids. Because as Seb mentioned, like the longer you let this thing go, the better. So if you start contributing to their tax-free savings account, open it in their name, obviously, which you can do with Franc. Yes! Which is amazing. Means that like if you can contribute to that when they're still in their teenage years, it means that you're literally giving them the longest period of time for that money to grow, which just allowing that compound growth to take place is an extraordinary benefit that really you can give your children in the long term.
And not tell them about it.
Until
they're 40 and say, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you're a millionaire.
So that means open a tax-free savings account for yourself and for your kids as well.